Before the garage startups and the sleek Macintosh, before Silicon Valley became a household name, there was a man who dreamed of putting a computer in every home. His name was Alan Kay, and while he didn't invent the personal computer alone, he envisioned it decades before anyone else took the idea seriously. Yet today, most people have never heard of him. This is the story of the visionary who saw the future, built prototypes that proved it was possible, and then watched as others took the credit and the fortune. Stay with us as we uncover why one of technology's greatest minds died with his legacy almost entirely forgotten. Alan Kay was born in 1940 in Springfield, Massachusetts, into a world of analog machines and mechanical calculators. His parents were intellectuals, his mother a biologist, his father a musician, which meant young Alan was exposed to both the sciences and the arts from childhood. He grew up obsessed with understanding how things worked, taking apart radios and building his own electronics. But unlike many tech pioneers, Kay had a profound appreciation for liberal arts and philosophy. He'd later say that the best way to predict the future is to invent it, a mantra that would define his entire career. By the time he entered university in the late 1950s, Kay was dreaming bigger than most of his peers, not just about building better machines, but about fundamentally transforming how humans could interact with technology. In 1966, while working at Xerox's legendary Palo Alto Research Center PARC, Alan Kay had an epiphany. He was watching a child interact with a computer terminal, and he realized something profound. If you could make computers small enough and intuitive enough, children could learn to think in entirely new ways. This wasn't just about making machines faster or cheaper. Kay envisioned something revolutionary, a portable, personal device. He called it the Dynabook that would be as intimate and personal as a book, but infinitely more powerful. Imagine a flat, tablet-like computer you could hold in your hands, with a graphical interface where you point and click, rather than typing cryptic commands. This was 1968. Steve Jobs was a teenager. The Altair 8800, often credited as the first personal computer, wouldn't exist for another 7 years. What made Kay's vision even more ahead of its time was that he didn't just theorize, he built working prototypes. At PARC, Kay and his team created Alto, a computer that incorporated nearly every feature we now take for granted on modern personal computers: a graphical user interface, a mouse, networked communication, and what many consider the first tablet prototype. The Alto existed in functional form in the early 1970s, years before the Apple Roman II. It had overlapping windows, pull-down menus, and icon-based navigation. When visitors from Apple came to tour PARC, they saw these machines in action. Steve Jobs famously said that visiting PARC was like Alibaba opening the Cave of Treasures. He witnessed firsthand what Kay and his team had created. Yet somehow, history has largely credited Jobs and Apple with inventing the graphical user interface. The reality is far more complex and far less generous to Alan Kay. Here's where the tragedy begins. Xerox, the company funding PARC, fundamentally misunderstood what Kay and his team had created. The company's business was built on selling copy machines and toner. They didn't see how personal computers would fit into their profit model. Rather than commercializing the Alto or the graphical interface, Xerox shelved the technology. They didn't see the future. Meanwhile, Steve Jobs did. After his visit to PARC, Jobs returned to Apple and championed the development of the Macintosh, which borrowed heavily from what he'd seen: the mouse, the windows, the entire visual paradigm. When the Macintosh launched in 1984 to massive acclaim, it was hailed as revolutionary. Kay's contribution? Barely mentioned. To make matters worse, Xerox lost its chance to dominate the personal computer revolution. They had the technology. They had the talent. They simply lacked the vision to understand what they possessed. Alan Kay didn't disappear entirely after PARC, but his career never quite recovered from the institutional failure to commercialize his vision. He moved to Atari in the 1980s, where he led their computer research division and continued developing educational software and thinking about the future of human-computer interaction. Later, he joined Apple and eventually Disney, where he worked on interactive media and education. But he was always in the background. His ideas continued to influence technology, the very foundations of modern computing owe him a debt. Yet when people talk about the inventors of the personal computer era, they name Jobs, Gates, Wozniak, even Douglas Engelbart. Alan Kay? He's a footnote, if mentioned at all. His name doesn't appear on the list of Time magazine's most influential people of the 20th century, despite arguably influencing technology more profoundly than many who did. He watched from the margins as others built fortunes on concepts he'd pioneered. Perhaps most heartbreaking is that Kay's real vision, the Dynabook, the idea of computing as a medium for thought itself, never fully materialized in his lifetime. He imagined personal computers as tools for creative expression, learning, and exploration. Instead, they largely became tools for productivity and consumption. The tablet computers that eventually emerged in the 2000s came closest to his dream. But even then, they were often locked down, proprietary devices designed to sell content and services, not to empower individual thinking and creativity the way Kay had imagined. His dream of computing as a bicycle for the mind, a tool that would amplify human intelligence and creativity, remained largely unrealized. Today's devices are powerful, yes, but they are also surveilled, monetized, and manipulated in ways Kay never intended. The personal computer industry that exploded after 1980 was built on his foundation, yet it evolved in directions he didn't envision and might not have approved of. Alan Kay passed away in 2019 at the age of 77, relatively unknown to the general public. His death received a fraction of the media coverage afforded to Steve Jobs' passing a decade earlier. Most mainstream obituaries described him as a computer scientist or researcher, safe, vague terms that failed to capture his true significance. He had received some accolades in his later years, a Turing Award in 2003, the highest honor in computer science, and recognition from academics and fellow technologists who understood his contributions. But for the broader world that uses computers daily, Alan Kay remained invisible. His ideas, woven into the fabric of every smartphone and computer we use, went largely uncredited. The machines in our pockets, the graphical interfaces we intuitively understand, the very concept of personal computing itself, these all trace back to a visionary who lived and died in relative obscurity. It's a reminder that the history of technology is not always written by its true pioneers, but by those with the capital and marketing prowess to commercialize their work. Today, there's a growing recognition among technology historians and computer scientists of Alan Kay's outsized influence. Books and documentaries have begun telling his story, and figures like Steve Jobs' biographer Walter Isaacson have acknowledged the debt Silicon Valley owes to Kay's pioneering work. His papers and interviews reveal a thinker who was thinking decades ahead of his contemporaries, not just about hardware, but about the philosophy of computing, about education, about how technology could fundamentally reshape human learning and expression. In many ways, we're only now catching up to the ideas Alan Kay proposed in the 1970s. Researchers in artificial intelligence, user interface design, and educational technology regularly cite his work as foundational. Universities have named research centers after him. Yet for the average person who picks up their smartphone or sits down at their laptop, Alan Kay remains a ghost in the machine, a brilliant mind whose legacy is everywhere, but whose name is nowhere. He is the forgotten visionary who invented the personal computer before Steve Jobs was born and died, proving that being right about the future isn't always enough. The story of Alan Kay reminds us that innovation is often a collective effort, and that those who see furthest ahead don't always reap the rewards of their vision. His life is a testament to the power of ideas and the fragility of being remembered for them. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about the unsung heroes of technology history, smash the like button and subscribe so you never miss a video like this one.